So my buddy Mark calls me up last week. He's finally got some extra cash. He's been working a DoorDash shift after his 9 to 5 and another shift on Saturdays doing basic lawn care for the neighbors. You know, the classic make money from home in your spare time grind. He saved up $800 and he's pumped. He logs into his credit card app and he sees that $500 balance. He thinks, boom, freedom. I'm gonna pay this off entirely right now. So he does. He pays the full statement balance. He feels like a king. He's done everything right. He made the extra money, he sacrificed his Saturdays, and he killed the debt. Then, 2 weeks later, he checks his credit score on one of those free banking apps, and his score dropped 35 points. He calls me up, and I can hear it in his voice. He's deflated. He says, "Thomas, I did the right thing. I paid off my debt. How does paying off my debt make my credit worse? Why does the system punish you for being responsible?" And here's the thing, he's not wrong to be confused, because the way we think credit scores should work and the way they actually work are two completely different things. My name is Thomas, and I learned why paying off debt can actually lower your credit score. If you're someone who's trying to dig yourself out of a hole, trying to scrub that debt so you can finally breathe, or maybe you're just looking for ways to make extra money in your spare time so you can get ahead of these bills, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we are pulling back the curtain on the algorithm that rules your financial life. Look, let's be honest. The common sense assumption is simple. Debt bad, no debt good. Therefore, if I pay off debt, my score goes up. It's the same logic as eating vegetables makes you healthy. But the credit score isn't a measure of how healthy you are. It's not a morality score. It's not the responsibility index. It's a measure of one thing and one thing only: how likely you are to make a lender a specific amount of money over the next 24 months. That's it. It's a risk assessment tool for banks to predict profitability. And once you understand that, the weirdness starts to make sense. My buddy Mark, by paying off that card completely, he just told the computer algorithm, "I am no longer using this credit." And to an algorithm, a person who isn't using credit looks risky, because you can't make money off someone who isn't playing the game. So let's break down exactly what is in this black box, how are credit scores actually calculated. There are 5 main ingredients. I want you to visualize a pie, okay? The biggest slice of the pie, 35%, is your payment history. This is the one piece of common sense that actually holds up. Have you paid your bills on time? If you missed a payment, that's a black mark. 35%, huge. Next slice, 30%, is amounts owed. This is your credit utilization. This is the part that killed Mark. It's not just about how much debt you have, but the ratio of your debt to your total available credit. Then we have length of credit history at 15%. How long have you had accounts open? This is the seasoning of your financial life. Credit mix makes up 10%. Do you just have credit cards, or do you have an installment loan like a car payment or a mortgage? Lenders like to see you can handle different types of debt. And finally, new credit inquiries, also 10%. Every time you apply for a card, you get a little hard pull that dings you temporarily. Now, most people know that. They've seen this pie chart before. But here's what most people don't realize. That 30% slice for amounts owed is the most volatile. It's the part of the pie that can change overnight, and it has a secret rule. The rule is this: for the best possible score, the algorithm wants to see you using between 1% and 9% of your total available credit. Let's do the math, because I want you to actually see this. Let's say you have one credit card. Your credit limit is $5,000. If you owe $2,500, your utilization is 50%. That's bad. The algorithm sees you as maxed out, desperate. If you owe $0, your utilization is 0%. That's Mark. That's what we think is good. But to the algorithm, that's inactive. If you owe $200, your utilization is 4%. That's perfect. It's insane, right? The system literally rewards you for carrying a little bit of a balance from month to month. Now, you might be thinking, but Thomas, I don't want to pay interest. I'm not giving the bank free money. And you're right, you shouldn't pay interest. There's a huge difference between a statement balance and carrying debt. Here's the trick. The credit card company reports your balance to the credit bureaus usually once a month on your statement date.
If on that date your balance is $200, they report $200. Even if you pay it off in full a week later when the bill is due, you still showed a 4% utilization. You don't have to pay interest to have a great score. You just have to let a little bit of a balance report. But that's just the beginning. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the 15% slice, length of credit history. We're told to keep old accounts open. Good advice. But nobody tells you why it hurts so much when you close one. The algorithm looks at two things: the age of your oldest account and the average age of all your accounts. Let me give you a scary math example. Imagine you're 30 years old. You got your first credit card when you were 20. That card is 10 years old. Card A, 10 years. Then you got a store card at 25. That's 5 years. And you got a rewards card last year at 29. That's 1 year. Your average age of credit is 10 plus 5 plus 1 divided by 3 accounts. That's about 5.3 years. Now, let's say you listen to Dave Ramsey for a minute, God love him, and you decide you hate debt. You cut up all your cards and close them. Specifically, you close that first card you got when you were 20 because it has a low limit and a high fee. You close the store card because you never shop there anymore. Now, suddenly, your credit history is just that one rewards card you opened last year, the 1-year-old card. Your average age of credit just crashed from 5.3 years down to 1 year. In the eyes of the algorithm, you just became a risky new borrower. Your score plummets.
It's the financial equivalent of deleting your decade-old social media account and wondering why nobody trusts your new profile. Look, understanding the math is one thing, but why do we keep making these mistakes? Why do smart people like my buddy Mark do the thing that hurts their score? It's psychological. It's the clean slate effect. Paying off a debt feels amazing. It feels like finishing a race. There's a dopamine hit that comes with seeing a zero balance. We are wired to want completion. We want to close the tab, pay the check, and be done. But the credit system isn't built for finishers. It's built for players. It wants you to keep the tab open indefinitely. There's a famous study by the Federal Reserve, I'm paraphrasing the data here, that showed consumers with the highest credit scores actually carry a small balance month to month relative to their limits, but they also have high incomes and rarely miss payments. They aren't in debt trouble, they are strategically using debt. They've realized that the credit score isn't about being debt-free. It's about showing you can manage debt forever without falling apart. So, how do we beat the game? How do we use this knowledge to build a massive score without giving the banks a fortune in interest? I'm going to give you 3 actionable steps you can start today. Step 1, the AZEO method. This is a tactic the credit nerds use. It stands for all 0 except 1. If you have 3 credit cards, let 2 of them report a $0 balance. On the third card, let a small balance report. We're talking $20, $30, maybe $50 depending on your limit. Just enough to show 1 to 3% utilization. This satisfies the algorithm. It sees you're active but not desperate. When that statement hits and the balance reports, then you pay it off. You pay the full statement balance by the due date. 0 interest paid, perfect score reported. Step 2, the credit limit increase loophole. Remember, the utilization ratio is debt divided by limit. If you can't get your debt to 0, increase the bottom number. Call your credit card company right now. Don't apply online because that can trigger a hard inquiry sometimes. Call them. Ask, I'd like to request a credit limit increase. I do not want a hard pull on my credit if possible. If you have a $1,000 limit and you owe $300, you're at 30% utilization. Bad. But if they raise your limit to $3,000, now you're at 10% utilization. Much better. You didn't pay a dime extra. You just changed the math. Step 3, the authorized user glitch. This is a huge one for parents or for anyone who has a trusted family member with good credit. You can be added as an authorized user on their credit card. You don't even have to possess the card. You don't have to spend the money. But when they add you, the entire history of that card, sometimes decades of perfect payments, gets added to your credit report. It boosts your average age of credit instantly. It's a legal, legitimate way to inherit good credit history. If you're just starting out, this is the cheat code. And this is the part nobody talks about. Why does this even matter? Who cares if your score is 680 or 780? Let's talk about the math of money, real dollars. You want to buy a house. The average home price in the US right now is hovering around $400,000. You put 5% down, you're financing $380,000. With a good score, say 760 or above, you might get a mortgage rate of 6.5% today. Your monthly payment is roughly $2,400. With a fair score, say 650, you're looking at a rate closer to 7.5%. Your monthly payment jumps to about $2,650. That's a $250 difference a month, $3,000 a year. Over a 30-year mortgage, that bad score just cost you $90,000. $90,000. That's not a car. That's a college education. That's a decade of investing. All because you didn't understand how to make a small balance report correctly. Now, let's circle back to the beginning, the spare time, the side hustles. If you are working that extra shift to make ends meet, if you're driving for Uber or mowing lawns on the weekend to pay down debt, you have to make sure your effort isn't being wasted by a stupid algorithm. You're out there grinding, sacrificing your free time to save $500. But if your credit score is low because you paid off the wrong card at the wrong time, you're gonna lose $90,000 on your house later. You have to work smarter than the system. You have to make your spare time money work twice as hard. That $200 you made mowing lawns this weekend, put it in the bank. Pay your bills on time. But when it comes to your credit card, pay it down to $20. Don't pay it down to $0. Let the system work for you, not against you. Let's recap what we learned today, because there was a lot. First, your credit score is not a measure of how responsible you are. It's a measure of how profitable you are to lend to. Second, the magic number isn't 0. It's 1% to 9% utilization. You need to let a tiny balance report to show you're using your credit. Third, never close your oldest accounts. You're nuking your own history. And fourth, use the AZEO method and call for credit limit increases to game the system without paying interest. Look, the financial world is confusing. It's designed to be confusing. The banks don't want you to know this stuff because they make money when you're confused. They make money when you carry high-interest debt because your score is too low to refinance. But you are not confused anymore. You now know the secret recipe. If this video helped you see the matrix a little bit, if it saved you from making the same mistake my buddy Mark made, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you want to keep learning how to take the money you make in your spare time and stretch it further, if you want to build wealth and stop being surprised by your own bank account, hit subscribe. My name is Thomas. Go check your credit card balance, make sure it's not 0, and I'll see you in the next video.